Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I would like to share with you how to adjust your door so it will open freely if you install, let's say, carpet and now your door doesn't want to open, or the bottom of the door is rubbing really hard against the carpet and it's very difficult to open. Or in this case, this door is a closet door. It closes fine, okay? And then when you get to this part, it actually rubs, see that? And then you get these scratches right here, which we're going to be repolyurethaning, and we don't want to damage this floor again. So what we're going to do is take this door off, and we're actually going to slice it off, and that's pretty much what you have to do. Now you can do a couple methods. You can use a table saw if you have two people to make it really easy to make a nice cut, or you can just use a circular saw and you do a pretty good cut with it either way, as long as you have a steady hand, and it really doesn't matter how it looks on the bottom. Now this is a solid door, so it's easy to cut and leave it alone, but if you have one of those hollow doors and you have to cut off, let's say, more than 1.5 inches, you're gonna have, in a normal door, it's gonna be hollow, and then you have this nice piece of like fill board on the bottom. So if you cut that off, this door is gonna be squishy and it can be easily kicked and broken. So you'd have to, after you cut the door, take a piece of wood and fill it inside your door, and glue it in and staple it to make sure you have a solid door on the bottom. And that's just the way they make those cheap doors. If you have a solid door or a wood door, then you have no problem just slicing it off. So now in this case also, this is an older door, and it only has, you can see that it's an older door because now it only has 2 hinges versus 3 hinges brand new doors come. And in this case, you can normally, from the hinge, take a pin and pop this pin right out. But in this case, you can't even do that with the older door hinges. You can't do that, so we're gonna actually have to unscrew the door. So let's get to it. Another way you can tell that this is an old door hinge and an old door is you have flat head screws, which normally everybody uses Phillips now because it's so easy to use a Phillips. Flathead screwdriver is so difficult to pop it in, and then sometimes it pops out. So back then they used to use a lot of flatheads, and now we use Phillips. So you unscrew these from the door jamb, and we're gonna do this. See how that pops out? You don't have that problem with a Phillips screw with a screwdriver. So we're gonna be installing nice Phillips screws instead of these, and I'm gonna unscrew the bottom first so this doesn't topple over and wedge my other hinge on the bottom. So now we did the bottom one, and now we can unscrew the last portion of the top. There you go. The door is free. Now let's bring it over to a spot where we want to cut it. I'm going to be using a circular saw because I don't have a second person to really easily hold the other end of the door while we push it through a table saw. So we're just going to use a circular saw and go away with a pretty good cut either way. Okay, so here we have the door, and I also put my vacuum underneath. This is what I had. You can use a bucket or some kind of a spacer from the ground. So when you're using your circular saw, you're not going to cut to ground. In this case, we definitely don't want to do damage to the hardwood floor. So also you want to make sure that you're cutting from the bottom and not the top of the door, which in this case, it's really hard to tell which is the top and bottom because they all kind of look alike. This is a slotted door, but you can kind of tell, obviously, the door handle is lowered to the bottom for a quick glance, but we're gonna cut it from the bottom, and I just want you guys to make sure you don't cut it from the top because you're gonna have to reset all your hinges to make it work. So let's get to it. We have our circular saw, and we have a level just for a straight edge, and we have our tape pencil and a tape measure. Now I am gonna be measuring, since we don't have a carpet there and we just want it to be off the ground, I am going to be cutting off a 1/2 inch. So we measure half here, and we measure half on the other side. Since we had no problem with the door bottom being cockeyed. Next, we just take this and make a mark. So you have a line to follow. Now, there is a better way to do this if you have clamps and a board or a level. Let's just say your circular saw cuts right here. You can see there's a line right here. So you put it up right here and you would put your level or piece of wood right there as a guide, and you clamp it on both sides. And then all you have to do is run the circular saw right across, right along your guide, and that's going to give you a really smooth cut. Now, I don't have clamps with me or a dedicated unit to do this, so I'm going to have to just make a line and cut it by the line. Okay, doing it that way really didn't didn't need for me to actually keep this straight. It was just sliding on the door. So yeah, make sure you cut with most of this on the door. So let's go install it and see what we did. Now, as you can see, even without a guide, it looks really straight, no problems. But if you want it perfect, if you don't have a steady hand, I'm already used to doing using a circular saw for a long time, so I can almost make a perfect line without a guide. Okay, so everything is on. Let's see how everything works. So we cut the door off, put the hinges right back on, and as you can see, this shuts very nice, just like it did before, because we aligned the hinges back where they were, and no more rubbing. And as you can see, there's a nice gap there. So even if we did put an area rug, it still would make it over, but it's not too big of a gap where it looks odd, especially in a bedroom. You don't want to cut it too high, because it just, you know, people would feel it as they don't have enough privacy. The bigger gap you have, you literally can see somebody walking around underneath. So you want to cut it just as close as you can to whatever you have, flooring, carpet, whatever it is, without exposing too much. So hopefully this was very helpful, and see you next time.